Right, so the final part of this is just throwing in those three quick effects units. First is our left-right imager. Now notice that this is routed into that 14th channel, just drag it out. And we don't want it in there, we want it in AUX 2. Drag those cables into there and that routes us up nicely. And there's our left-right imager. Now this seems pointless putting it in a combinator, but this is actually just the first part of the control as we're using it for the drums. I've actually got a combinator set up for a left-right imager for much more extensive things. So you right click and create a stereo imager. You want the low band as minimal. You want the high band as wide as it can go. And this crossover frequency I just changed ever so slightly to 840. So that was it. That is the whole of the left-right imager, which is now done. Next we'll create another combinator. Again it's defaulting to our routing point, so drag it. Oop, wrong one. There it is. Drag it into channel 3 by dragging your... hate it when the combinators pick up like that. Drag it into 3 and 3 into the input. There we go. And it's called Combinat. We're calling this reverb. Again, it seems pointless putting this in a combinator, but this is only part of the effects patch that I actually built, and I just thinned it down. So name it reverb, create RV7 digital. You want to select small room, just gives you a nice subtle reverb effect. You want to bring the size of that room down to -4, the decay up to 6. You want to take dampening right off. Actually, those were the other way round. Size was -6 and decay was 4. The dry wet we want to bring down to a little over half. 76 worked quite well for what I wanted. Shift key if you can't find it. That's the reverb effect built. You can help yourself a little by reordering these here. Finally, create yourself a 4th combinator for your effects units. Drop it into place if you want to do that beforehand. Like that. And this one was called Distortion. Again, it's only part of an overall effect unit that I just used combinator for. And you want to create a screen for distortion. You want it on distortion mode. P1 was 34, which is right there. P2 is about 3/4 of the way around, and it's a 103 give or take. Now the damage control, you want to bring this down really quite low, less than 1/4. 26 did it for what I needed. And now comes the bit where that control key comes in useful. Control click on each of the cuts, and on each of those, and you want type D, and then the master output are left alone. That's that built. Now again, distortion's routed into the wrong place. If anybody wants to tell me a way of stopping that happening, feel free in comments. I mean, obviously I know that you can shift click to stop it routing and route it yourself, but if there's a way of telling it to route into the aux channels, I'd be interested to hear that. So there's our 4 effects units built. And now the exact settings I used are right on the completed version here. As you can see, I haven't actually used the filter here because I want to control it slightly differently. The reverb, the left-right imager, should be at 75 across the field. Yeah, that one snuck up a bit. With the exception of the last one. So the tambourine's 67. But all of the others, for the reverb, are at 75. One thing to note, I did put the filter out full. Not that we're actually using it on the drums yet, because I don't want it filtering until we've got the other effects set, and we're going to automate filtering anyway. So yeah, all of those reverbs at 75. Just because that's what works for this particular track, but you can do as much or as little, sorry, left-right imaging rather. You can do as much or as little of this as you want. But for me, 75 just works. It does take a while to set these sometimes. So that one's set. All this is doing is just widening up that sound nicely. As we get further in, we're actually going to duplicate that those sample settings, sorry, the effect settings that we've used for other mixers further down as we're building our basses and our leads and varying other relevant tones for this particular track. And that's the stereo imager set. I always used to call it a left-right imager, and that just kind of stuck with me. Now the reverb, it is going to be different for each drum, but it's all around the 20 to 30 mark. As you can see, the crash cymbal I didn't put any on, but all of the others are around that 20 to 30 mark, except for those toms, which are a little higher. So yeah, you could set those to your own personal taste, but that's what I happen to use. And finally the distortion, I didn't put any on anything, that one's actually crept up by its own. Now, the left-right imager, we want the output at 100, but the others we want at 127. That is important. So there we go, that's our effects set. I'll just quickly do those reverbs, and then we'll come back and I'll show you a pattern that I've put in that just shows you what this is capable of.